So it's a busy Sunday down here in the French Quarter. Eric and I wanted to come down as part of our project to see how and if slave pens and slave markets are documented. We're standing across the street from the site of the former largest slave market in the United States, and there's not much documentation. There's a lot of tourists running around, but we want to kind of get the full story about this, see what happened.
According to Mary Niall Mitchell, a history professor at the University of New Orleans, due to New Orleans' location on the Mississippi River, the city became the hub of the slave trade, the biggest slave market in the Deep South. Over 3,000 steamboats annually brought tons of cotton, sugar, and other slave-produced goods down the Mississippi to what was by the 1850s America's second busiest port. New Orleans was by some measures the wealthiest city in the Western Hemisphere in the years before the Civil War and was famous for its gas-lit boulevards bisected by electric streetcars. There were 17,000 slaves in the city in 1850, among a population of just over 100,000. In 1808, the federal government ended the transatlantic and international slave trade, meaning that there were no more shipments of enslaved people from the Caribbean or Africa. Just a few years before that, the Louisiana Purchase opened up new lands that needed to be farmed. As the international slave trade soon became abolished, there was a huge demand for labor in the Deep South, and thus the domestic slave trade filled this void.
So right now, y'all are looking at the third oldest building in the French Quarter. It's called the original Pierre Maspero's. It was established in 1788. The story goes on the back of the brochure, which is not entirely true because I actually went and read, the archives myself. It says that this was the original slave trade. It was not the original slave trade. The original slave trade happened over at the Omni Hotel, where if you look on the arches above, it used to say exchange. So now that just says change.
The old St. Louis Hotel was famed for its beautiful rotunda and classical architecture. It also served as one of the city's largest and most central slave markets. In a city where slavery was central and prevalent to all historical development, this lavish hotel also doubled as a market for one to buy or sell other humans. Yet the site does not hold any markers or memorials today and remains as a hotel. Although the slave trade served as the fuel that fed the fire for the city's rapid growth and accumulation of wealth, today there is little to no evidence of the horrors that took place at this slave market, and countless others like it across the city of New Orleans. An improperly located plaque across the street from the hotel marks the horrors that took place with only a mention that slaves were exchanged there. The plaque goes on to detail a more glorious history centered on Andrew Jackson. Within the hotel, a large plaque marks the importance of the hotel as a landmark for the cotton exchange.
So how does that make you feel, like, as a historic thing? It says Pierre Maspero Slave Exchange, and all it mentions about slavery is that slaves were bought and sold here, which is kind of a disservice, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. It's a bothersome thing, but you know, like, it happened years ago, so you know, you can't dwell on the past or whatever. But it's weird. It's weird knowing that. I mean, I work in a place like this predominantly happened. You know what I'm saying? So,
in order to truly preserve and honor the delicate and wonderful history of the city, we must first come to terms with and recognize the horrors of its past.